I want to welcome everybody for coming out this evening. And at this time, we're going to take any public comments if we have any. All right, no public comments. Then we're going to move right into our tour of manufacturing CAD engineering program. And we are prepared to do some filming of that as well for the public.
Can I introduce Adam?
Yes. All right.
So I'd like to introduce Adam Canestrasi. Adam is our new manufacturing instructor, and we talked about Adam last month, and here he is live, and he's going to give us a tour today of his program and of his shop space and classroom space, and talk to you a little bit about the vision for manufacturing technology going forward with the center. So, and then we'll, after that, have a tour of the newly opened today 321 Perk at the campus store, our new relaunch of our campus store.
Good. Okay. That's good. We ready to move out then? All right, let's go.
He's going to film that. You're going to take
The young man seems quite knowledgeable, too.
Yes, we
Yes.
are very, very lucky to have found Adam and to have him here full-time on staff with us. It's been eye-opening for me, you know, to listen to his expertise in the shop and see where the future of the program's going to be.
I'm wondering why we didn't have some of that information in the past.
Well, it's kind of hard to keep going back and wondering why you didn't have certain things.
That's
Now,
right.
let's go forward.
That's right, that's right, we look forward. Let's move on to the consent agenda.
Yep.
We have meetings in our packet, the minutes for the RGB full board meeting, August 15th, 2016. Can I have a motion to accept those?
Second it.
Moved by Francis, seconded by Leon. Any discussion on the minutes of the meeting? Through them, they seem to be all in order. Okay, all those in favor of accepting the minutes, then please signify by raising your hand. It looks like it's unanimous. Barb? Payroll warrants, 28, 1047, 4, 1005, number 5, number 1006, number 6, and number 1008. Can I have a motion for the payroll warrants?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Leon and seconded by Francis. Any discussion on that? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand on the payroll warrants. On the vendor warrants, I need to point out to you that Stephanie, by the way, had to leave. She had an emergency with a family situation, so. But she did point out to me this evening that the payroll warrants, the last warrants for June are in here as well. You'll see if you went through the warrants, some of them have just my signature on them. Those warrants have to be approved by the board. They have to be signed. They'll go around, which are the last year, fiscal year's warrants, as well as the new warrants. So I need a motion to accept all those warrants that are listed.
I'll second it.
Moved by Francis, seconded by Leon. And any discussion on the vendor warrants at all? And I assure you, I've gone through all of those too. They all look legitimate. All those that in favor of accepting the warrants as presented this evening, please signify by raising your hands. Looks like it's unanimous as well, Barb. There is in the cash flow statements and revenue statements that are also posted. We'll go on to committee reports, and we'll start with Leon in Policy Committee.
Let's see here. Committee report. We met last week to discuss policy items, and we have two policies that are ready for warning tonight. The first policy down on the list is policy 10,030C, and that's a school safety policy. And this is a new policy, and hopefully everyone had a chance to look at that policy there. But this policy is to make area reasonable efforts to ensure the safety of all students and staff while they are on the district premises. And so it outlines certain things in terms of definitions and implementation and so along that line, and with the cross-reference. And it has various administrative procedures that are associated with it at the time we even coming up with the policy that mirrored that. So in terms of some of the things that were concerned to individuals in terms of administrative regs, door entries and classroom doors and secure cameras and so forth, drills and classroom safety, stuff and so forth along that line. So that's a little different. The reason I mention this, normally the policy is made and then the administrative regs is made and attached to them. And so this was an effort to try to do it all at the same time. And the board is responsible for making sure that we warn the policy, and the administration has shown what administrative regs they want to associate with the policy. So I'd like to have a motion that for that warning of this.
So moved. Second. Okay, moved by Francis and seconded by Ricky. The motion is, just to make point of clarification, is to warn these, which means
That's right.
they are open for discussion now for the next month. And we'll get onto the discussion of these as we get into the action items. So I guess we could do that now.
You can do it now if you want a discussion.
We
We just,
motion.
you don't, it's up for,
Let's do that. So on these policies, and they're in the packet, they're under the policy committee documents. There's 4 of them there, policy 1030C, 5005, staff conflict and draft, and the travel policy.
there's only 2 of them that are
But only 2 of
available.
them are going to be worn this
That's right.
evening.
The others we're working on.
Right. So if you haven't had a chance, you've got a month to look over those and come up with any of your comments, okay? And I did have a chance to look over the 5005, and I have just a question for you, Leon, on this, if I may.
We hadn't come to that one yet.
You haven't come to that one yet?
No, we're
I'm
on
sorry.
1030.
You're still on 1030,
Yeah,
okay.
so-
All right, go ahead.
I mean, if, that's the one we're asking, you know, the approve, a warrant on, is because it's up for the board to approve it right here tonight, and then, come back with any comments or so forth for later on. So we're just asking for a vote now.
For a vote to approve the warning of this.
1030C.
All right, any discussion on that? All those in favor of approving the warning of this policy 1030C, please signify by raising your hand. That's unanimous.
The next policy that we have before you is policy 5005. It's a new revision of policy in terms of, we did a few things to change the name, update it. And this is a required policy. What was missing in our old policy is some of the language change in here, had a couple of strike-throughs through, and how the policy change is to make it very clear to everyone what their responsibility is in terms of child abuse and the reporting. That's one of the things. And it also included adults, in which we didn't have in the old one, so we included the information on that. And it also talks about education in terms of getting people to be trained in various things. So the name of the policy is Reporting of Child and Vulnerable Adult Abuse, Sexual Abuse, and Sexual Violence. And that's policy C5005. So
Can we have a motion then to accept the warrant of this policy? So moved. Moved by Rick.
Second.
Third. Seconded by Ken. Seconded, okay. John, sorry. Discussion then on this policy. And I know that this is the one that's received some attention in the press just recently as well, but I'm happy to hear you say that this is, it's by statute, and our point here is to make it very clear as possible as to how this procedure is to be handled. My question, Leon, is there's a section here under vulnerable adult and a definition of a vulnerable adult. And in that it reads, is a resident of a facility required to be licensed, 33 VSA Chapter 7 nursing homes? And I'm just wondering why that type of definition is included in our policy when further down you've included in schools a vulnerable adult is a person of 18 who is impaired due to brain damage or disability. So.
and you asking why we didn't include
No, I'm asking why we include a definition of a nursing home vulnerable adult into a school's policy.
I mean, the definition is something, I don't understand whether there's something wrong with the definition in terms of that. It's still it's an 18-year-old person, whether they are in the nursing home or whatever, but.
Yeah, I think that I could be wrong, is in there.
What line item are you on? That's
Okay,
one.
line 23 starts out with a vulnerable adult
is a person that's 18 years of old of age who is that's the part you're talking about?
That's right. But, and then the next sentence, is a resident of the facility required to be licensed?
Well, isn't the school district responsible for special needs students until 21 or 22? If they be maybe homed in a nursing home, you'd have to be, educate them as well.
There may be, I mean, depending, when you start to get with 18 and older, you're talking about the kids that are considered to be adults, and they may come here and they may be placed in other places along that line.
And I also believe that is also, it may be statutorily need to be in there, but I also, since this is a school board policy.
It is statutory.
Right, and we also, we employ our adult education staff, and we have an LNA program that goes to nursing homes, et cetera. I mean, it covers all of our district employees, whether they're here part-time, full-time, or, or
And
anything
it
else.
covers the students as to where they may be at certain times along that line.
Right.
So most of this language came exactly from the
I'm still
statute.
confused as why do we separate them out as 18 years of age or older? And you do it again down in D, as reporting them, because don't we have students that are younger than 18?
We do,
Fall
but
under vulnerable adults definition?
no, that by definition of an adult, you meet that 18-year-old requirement. But all the rest of the policy required everybody below that, along that line, and if that's it.
So
normal school-age kids would have been out or completed by the time they're, 17, 18 years old, normally. And then we have kids that are here that are longer than that, and for several reasons, and may be placed out for, I forget how many years, up to 22?
Up to they turn the age of 22.
Yeah, 22.
okay,
So,
that's where we're covering ourselves in, because we do have students up to the age of 22 that
Yes.
fall under vulnerable
Could be,
adult definitions.
that's correct.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question then.
But there's still this policy we've asked, in joint study, we've asked that it goes to a representative from the DCF area to be looked at. We have in legal also look at this again along that line because of all the information all the questions and the comments everybody's been making all over the place in the press. So both at the SVSU level and here are doing an in-depth investigation and everything to try to make sure this is reviewed by the agencies that are responsible for receiving information on one end, and that we cover ourselves legally on another end with this. So this is the first warning of that. We've had all kind of input from this to get it to this point, and we're still going to be working on it. But so it's out for warning now, and it's going several different places at the same time.
Do you envision there'd be administrative regs that would be built around this as well? New ones or updated ones? This policy basically states that everyone has to report to the what is it called, the DS?
DCF.
DCF.
Yeah, or the other
And
agency.
is there anywhere a procedure for anyone to do that? I wouldn't even know how to get a hold of that.
Well, they tell you in this policy to call the number, but we wanted, it says here, reporting a phone call or other communications to DCF or the commission that identifies a child or vulnerable adult who is a caller believed is and has been a victim of abuse, and
Right.
it cites that. Now, we had several discussions to talk about phone numbers in here because what we were doing, what part of the problem was before, we had a phone number that wasn't correct anymore.
Yeah.
And so we were really conscious of what to do with numbers in terms of names and agents. And I think if you say DCF, one of those, there's a number to pop up just like that for you. I mean, if you're going to call. But that would be, that was the reason we didn't put phone numbers exactly in the document here. But it may be we can consider that again for the regs. But that was the reason we didn't do it here.
It would be nice for that type of information to be readily available to a teacher to know where to go to get those phone numbers or those contact names, et cetera. You know.
And that's what we were talking about, putting that in the documents for the procedures for our information that we pass out and hand
Our
out in the
packet,
training
yeah,
and
it
so
should be
forth
in the
along that line, because
Handbook
this is.
packets, yeah, it's good.
Should be in the faculty handbook.
Everyone that is employed in the center has been through mandated reporter training this year. Everyone has been through it, and all of those certificates have been submitted to the office, and I've verified all of those. So every staff member is trained annually, as well as they're provided with the information packet of who to call, how to make the call. We will help make the call, and there are some very limited admin regs that are in here about talking about that, you know, once an employee, it's in here in the policy, once an employee of the district submits a report to either the state agency, they shall notify the superintendent director of the report, when it was made, and the nature of the report. And, you know, it's important here, it says, under no circumstances shall the superintendent director instruct an employee not to file a report. It is always to err on the side of reporting. You know, as a training that I attended last year, you know, when in doubt, report it out. That's the, you know, you can never be too sure. There is no harm in making a report
Right.
to DCF.
And so, the numbers, I think, is the only thing that maybe we'll be having some more discussion about is, and that was the number we was talking about, making sure that was in our information that we had posted or an attachment, but not in part of the policy because of the number error we had last time.
Gotcha, okay. Appreciate the work you're doing on this, Leon. It's very important, and our thanks goes to you and to your Bruce Lee Clark.
Bruce was dead. He was assigned with another person in Shaftesbury to
assist.
actually try to rewrite the whole thing and get it all up to date for us. And so everybody's been taking different views on it and reading it and changing the structure of the sentences to make sure it's favorable for everybody.
Good, good. Can we vote then to accept this to be warned then for the month? All those in favor then please signify by raising your hand. All right, that's approved for warrant.
So in our meeting, we discussed some other policies, and they're not ready for us, and that's staff conflict is one that we'll be bringing forth after we meet again to finish some discussion, and a travel policy. And these things all would be maybe our next meeting, the next two, and some more probably.
Are these new policies?
Staff conflict, yes, is new, spelling out in light of the business office, making sure that it meets the requirements for some of the grants and things that we have, that the language, they ask certain things, and so we're pulling out that information, says we got a particular policy to make sure that we are informing our staff about the conflict of interest and what it means out here and so forth along that line. So that was a good, healthy discussion. Yeah. And then the travel policies in terms what it is that we going to cover. Times have changed in terms of what's covered in terms of a business office, in terms of expenses, and what we expect when you travel for the school and so forth, and what we're going to reimburse on out there. And that's in compliance with the money that we're getting for some of our grants, to be able to spin it and spell it out and how we track it as well. Good. So that's coming. That's it.
Keep up the good work. Thank you, Liam. All right. Back to the agenda here. Do we have any resignations, Mike?
There is one resignation, and it is not in your Dropbox. It is only a verbal resignation. I have not been able to obtain a written resignation, but that is for for Andrew Waldron, our former law enforcement instructor, that resigned briefly before school started. I just don't have a written document for this board.
Has that impacted any classes?
I'm going to talk about that in my superintendent's report.
Okay.
But no, we are all set at this point.
Do you anticipate getting that resignation?
Okay.
I will continue to try, but I do not have it for you this evening.
Okay. Seems to me that we probably, can we act on a verbal resignation?
It's not an easy thing to get. I mean, we asked for that, and we have information. That's one of them, in the past, we've talked about, we wanted to have exit interviews with everybody that leave and all this stuff, but it's not a requirement. You can't make them do it. And you just ask and make yourself available for that, and if you do, you get it. And if you don't, you can't. There's nothing you can do.
I mean, part of the reason that the resignation is on here listed as an action item tonight is there also is a nomination for
Right.
a new instructor. So to follow our procedures, that's why it is on here.
Well, then, let's, as a board, take a stand and accept the resignation then of him verbally, so that we can officially go ahead with the nomination of the new person. Can I have a motion then to accept his resignation?
So moved.
Second it?
Okay. Did you get that, Barb? Moved by John, seconded by Leon. And any further discussion on the resignation? All those in favor then please signify by raising your hand. That resignation is approved unanimously. And you have a nomination.
Yeah, there are two nominations in the Dropbox. We'll start with the law enforcement instructor. This is a nomination for James Gully Jr. James has his master's in public administration from Norwich, bachelor's in criminal justice from Castleton State, experience with the Vermont State Police and the Bennington Police Department, and a total of 14 years experience. James, his first day was September 12th, I got the wrong day, in the classroom, and I'm going to touch more on that in my superintendent's report. But this is the nomination for James Gully Jr. to replace Andrew Waldron.
So moved.
Moved by Leon to accept and seconded by Ricky. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor then of accepting this nomination as presented, please signify by raising your hands. Again, unanimous. Okay, before we get into the adult ed position, I'm going to go back to the Ed and Strategic Planning Committee report, because that's what they've been working on. So I'm going to have Ed give his report on what we've been doing in that committee, and then we can move on to the recommendation for the action item. All right?
One more.
You had another nomination?
One other nomination, I'm sorry.
We do have one other nomination in the Dropbox. It is for Rebecca Tattersall. That is replacing Barb Gorbati in our business management program. You heard me speak of Becky down in the campus store. Becky comes to us as a licensed business teacher with her master's in education from Cambridge College, her Bachelor of Science from Trinity College, experience at Twin Valley Middle School as a business education teacher, Mount Greylock Regional High School, Taconic, Mildred Ellie, and a former MAUHS computer teacher here many years ago. She comes to us with 29 years of experience teaching business, and I think we were also lucky to find Becky as well.
So moved.
Moved by Ricky, seconded by John. All right. Discussion? All in favor? Accepting Becky then. Thank you, unanimous. Please let them know, Mike, both of them, that we look forward to their presentations here as we got this evening.
Yes.
Okay? And welcome on board for us. Now we'll go back to the Ed Committee meeting. I'm sorry I jumped out of line there. I guess I'm getting anxious to get to the end. Ed, why don't you go ahead and let the public and the board know as to what your work's been.
Does that mean you want me to keep it short? The Ed Committee has met twice in the last 2 weeks because we had a resignation of the adult ed director, which meant we had to figure out how to fill that position and where should the program be going. We had one meeting that was attended by a member of the public that's taken many classes here, Warren Coolidge, And we were also provided with a lot of input from Melanie Letourneau from the Department of Employment and Training. We essentially, in that meeting, talked about the needs within the local area that we serve. And we've come to the understanding that we need a CDL license program, probably a welding program and a manufacturing program, along with blueprint reading and probably hazmat training. Now to the tricky part. We don't have an adult ed director, and it's very difficult to find someone at this time of year because schools are staffed, and our administrators came up with a plan where the work of the adult ed director will be divided between the current superintendent director, the assistant director, the business manager, the guidance coordinator, and the adult ed assistant. And out of that, the assistant director for the CDC will pick up the largest share of the duties that the adult ed director has, and that will continue until the end of the school year, where we will reassess whether or not we want to continue with that plan or go out and find a full-time or perhaps part-time adult ed director. Did I leave anything out?
No, you're doing a good job so far. Yeah, good.
One element that has not been determined yet is compensation, in particular for the assistant director, who is currently a school year employee, and with the additional work, it will probably become a full year employee. And the committee is going to suggest that for the current school year, that she should receive a stipend for that work, and then we will determine at the beginning of the next school year whether we're going to continue in this method or hire somebody to fill the position full-time. And the stipend that's been suggested was $10,000, and she's been working, carrying the duties since school began of both the adult ed director and the assistant directorship here.
Okay, well, before I turn it over to you, Mike, for your portion of it, I just wanted to mention that the materials that were brought to the meetings, to the Ed Committee meeting, they're in the Dropbox, and they're under the superintendent's documents. And if you get a chance to look at this material that we examined, because it has to do with the employment, the history of employment, what's been going on here in this region. It talks about the jobs that are in demand and those that are no longer high demand in the area that we examined. And it talks about the skill sets, et cetera, and there's some fascinating figures that we reviewed with the Department of Labor, which brought us to some incredible discussions, as Ed's pointed out, in prioritizing some of the needs of the communities that we've identified. So when you get a chance, please look over some of those figures as well.
You mean the numbers of which ones are in which categories along that line is what's there? You list all of them. I mean, the different types of accumulatives for the fourth quarter endings in terms of total openings received. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, those are some of the areas that we explored. That's right.
And projections for the next 8 years out, and there's any number of sheets on that that were included, along with needs from the current, day-to-day stuff that's coming into the office with requests for people in certain areas and so forth as well. So I think all of that is in that packet, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
There's quite a bit of information that was provided to us, very informative.
So go ahead, Mike.
So Ed, I think Ed did a great job of summarizing the two fairly lengthy meetings that we had to discuss the current position of adult education and what it looks like going forward. As Ed stated, we're proposing that the lion's share of this work is picked up by the current assistant director, at least for the remainder of the school year. We are fairly confident that this model will work, but I'm not 100% sure. And this model works in other schools, in other technical centers, and it gives us time to assess what the needs of the community are, what the needs of the position are, and we'll have a better feeling of that come the end of the school year, April or May of next year, of what this position entirely entails, and if it can be done with the current staffing that we have. I believe that it can be, but again, I'm not 100% certain. So this is, to cover the additional duties for the remainder of the school year. And as Ed has pointed out, we don't know where the additional duties for like myself in the business office exactly lie yet. I don't have that information tonight for you. Meg has already started this in the middle of August when she returned and she's going to report on it tonight, what she has done so far with adult education and kind of where we're going with it based on our meeting that we had with the Vermont Department of Labor. It was a very productive meeting. It was very informative, and Melanie provided great info for us on what the community needs as far as training goes for our adult population and workforce. That's kind of just my take on it.
We also discussed that those duties need to really be identified and that
Yes.
they need to be written and presented to the board. And they're going to go back and prepare a list of those and bring them to us at the next meeting.
Key duties.
Key duties associated with the additional work that Meg's going to be doing here. But keep in mind, those things will probably be developing as we start figuring out how this all needs to be handled and how the work is going to be shuffled. So I've asked Med to give us an update on a monthly basis as to how this goes, if this is approved, how this all is going to come about and what she's doing in that capacity and how it's affecting her other position as well.
I should have mentioned that having an adult ed director is a requirement of state law. So we can't just eliminate the position. We have to fill it somehow, some way. And this is the most efficient, both in terms of immediate staffing and probably in terms of economics, it's the most efficient methodology that we've been able to come up with.
And there are other centers that do it in this means
Yeah,
and
right.
capacity. as
Most
well.
other centers.
Most of them do. Yeah. So, Leah,
I'm maybe a little confused because this is an education committee, right?
that's right.
This is and so, and I want to separate things out. The education committee is reporting on a recommendation for finances, which should not be
That's right.
occurring.
Yeah, that should have
along
been
that
Mike's,
line.
that should have been
Yeah.
Mike's presentation, and, yeah.
That's right, and some of the things that, in terms of breaking out and how they're gonna, and the structure that you're talking about, I wanna see it, how we're gonna break it out along that line so that we can make sure that we do the right things for each one of the particular items. They don't have to be nailed down specifically, but how you're breaking them out of education, and I didn't see that. This is just a report, and I'm not ready to just act just on the verbal report, just like this, because this is a required item that we're responsible for, that we need to actually see and make sure that we know who's going to be doing what, and then have a discussion with the finance group, how we going to take care of those items or that portion that we talk about, and who we're saying maybe we need to have something in executive session to talk about what we needs to happen out here and to do this just like that. So that's my take on that. We got to do it. We need to do it the right way.
Okay.
Yeah, the committee did discuss this evening that we do need modified job descriptions of what the changes are for each individual that'll pick up a portion of the duties. And those will be developed probably by the time of the next meeting or before.
The key duties, I mean, you know, you have.
Right.
We have two solid job descriptions currently for an assistant director for adult education and an assistant director, as well as myself and the finance office, and we have solid job descriptions for those. So, you know, Meg's not two people. And so we're gonna peel out the key responsibilities.
That's exactly, that's
out
all
of-
we're
Out of
talking
the
about.
assistant director for adult education's piece of
That's
what are the
right.
key components. And we talked about that tonight at the education committee to bring forward to the, so the board can understand better what Meg will be covering for at least this school year, if the board approves this.
I would like an approval for us to continue then in the capacity as is being worked right now with Meg doing the work. And like Leon says, we'll go back into finance as well as executive session if we need to, as to compensations and identifying duties and monetary figures. But can we get tonight an approval from this board to go ahead and assign the duties of the Director of Adult and Continuing Education to Meg this evening?
You can get my approval of it. I don't see where we have any choice. I mean, again, we can micromanage this thing to death, but we have no choice. So let's make the motion, let's approve it, and let's move on at this point, and we'll get the details later. It's not gonna change it.
Anybody else? Ken?
Oh, I agree.
Can I have a motion to that effect then?
We'll second it.
Okay. Moved by Francis, seconded by who?
Lynn?
Leon, okay. Further discussion?
I just want to say that I agree with everything that's said about the process here tonight, but you know, we also do need to talk about
Yeah.
what compensation looks like for those
Right.
pretty hefty duties for the remainder of the school year
That's right.
for that position. I just wanted to be clear on that as we move forward.
And Leon's right, but that should go to finance, it should be figured out, it should be presented to, in a format.
That,
complete
wa-
with the paperwork, and then we'll come back and approve that.
for
That's
the
right. That's right.
members that were at the education committee this evening, that was discussed with the business manager. So we do have some of that data already prepared. It just hasn't been documented and handed out to the rest of the board.
Yeah, because that's, the board's got to make it, approve that process and look at it and be responsible for those finances that are going to come out this way. And I need to see how we're going to do it, lay it out, before I just,
I hear you, yep.
Jim, I asked that Mike gets the finance committee set up. I mean, we're gonna be going into budget sometime relatively soon. I'd like to get it. I don't even think we have a chairman of that board yet, or that committee.
Well, you are.
I don't remember that.
No, you're right, we have to get
Get the dartboard
the first
out.
organizational meeting.
There.
Yeah, we'll work on that and get some dates set up for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that falls in line with what we discussed earlier this evening with the manufacturing program. That'll be on the agenda as well.
That'd be great.
We can get that meeting together as soon as people are available, you know,
Okay.
this week or early next.
Okay. Any further discussion then on the motion to appoint Meg as the Director of Adult and Continuing Education?
is that the title you want to give it, or what? I mean, I'm just
It
trying,
should
I
be
thought
the-
you mentioned something else.
Assigning the duties.
Assigning the duties
Okay.
of the Director of Continuing Adult and Continuing Education. All those in favor then, please signify by raising your hand. Okay, that's official, that's unanimous. Mike, did you have anything else on that?
Unless we're moving into the superintendent's report, then that's,
That's right, and then Meg can make her presentation as
Right.
to what she's been doing in that area as well. All right, thank you. Go ahead.
so the majority of the report, my report tonight, I mean, you had the tour of the manufacturing facility and that program, and that was part of it, as well as the campus store and the relaunch of that. I have a couple items, and then I'm going to turn it over to Meg to talk about the wonderful work that she's done in the last 30 days with adult education and kind of putting a new spin on a direction that I think we should be going in. First, I want to thank the criminal justice community, the Bennington Police Department, the Sheriff's Office, State Police, and other, I'm missing some, I know that. I'm well aware I'm missing agencies that helped cover our law enforcement program for 2.5 weeks while we were absent and looking for an instructor. I think it shows the dedication of our community to our programs. I know if this was our auto program or our forestry program or any of them, the community would have pitched in just the same. It shows the belief in our programs. And I can't say thank you enough to those organizations for pitching in and getting students engaged and on task and invested in a program when we didn't have an instructor on board. So thank you for that. It was really nice to see. The other thing that I want to mention is we have started school since our last board meeting. I think we've had a very successful start, a lot of positive energy in the school. Last week, we had a visitor from the U.S. Department of Education's Division of Academic and Technical Education, Shireen Donaldson. The U.S. Department of Education is in the state of Vermont doing a Perkins compliance audit with the state. We were one of 6 centers chosen for the state to represent the state as part of their program audit. And so we met with Ms. Donaldson last Wednesday. I think that it was a very good meeting. We had to cover things like program of study documents, brochures, flyers, websites, program of study elements such as pre-tech and prerequisites, recruitment, CTE programs, work-based learning experiences, articulation and dual enrollment agreements, post-secondary connections, and course of study. So they were really, it's a state audit and state review of how the state's overseeing programs of study at technical centers. So I thought that went very well. We had members of our student organizations greeting Ms. Donaldson, and she was here an hour and a half, 2 hours. We had everything prepared ahead of time. It was a short notice visit, but again, it went very well, and that's the testament of the strong programs that we have here at the center. So, Meg, I'm going to turn the rest over to you to talk about adult education and things that you've been working on.
So you heard a little bit earlier what some of the topics that we are looking at. I've been to many meetings and I've gotten a lot of information from Melanie Letourneau at Department of Labor, also Voc Rehab in regards to what our community needs and what, the folks that they work with, what they're looking for. I've also talked with area businesses around what they're looking for. I spoke with Trevor Mance today from TAM. And he really just confirmed, I think, what we were thinking, which is, looking at CDL training. That's a big one for this area. I've talked with Department of Transportation in regards to that, so hopefully I'll have more information for you at the next board meeting. But the closest CDL training is in Rutland. So he, although Rob Fawley from Department of Transportation, he and I have not spoken directly. We've been playing phone tag, but he seemed pretty excited about the possibility of offering something like that in this area. I've also, I connected with CCV and Department of Labor because I'm sure you saw in the Bennington Banner, the press on the CPT training, the manufacturing program that CCV and Department of Labor are collaborating on. I felt like we should be a part of that, and so I reached out to them, and as of Friday, we're a partner in it. So we will hopefully be having some folks here on campus doing some hands-on learning. We also are looking at offering other trades like welding. Today, diesel mechanics came up during my conversation with Trevor. Those are few and far between. We're looking at electrician certification. Also, HVAC came up at the Ed committee meeting. That's something that we'll look at. And then possibly expanding some of the health services, in particular the fire training one course. And, you know, when I spoke with Trevor today, he basically thanked us and said, the service industry is not going anywhere. You know, computers cannot replace, you know, waste management, cannot replace CDL drivers, at least not now. So I think he's on board with potentially offering internships or apprenticeships to students that, you know, come out of any of those areas that we set up. So I feel like this is a direction that we should have been going in, but now we're going into it. So I'm excited about it. I want everything done tomorrow, but I know that can't happen. We did start another LNA cohort, and this is their second week. There's 6 students in that. We will be having a inspection by the Board of Nursing on December 1st. So I'll report more about that in future meetings, and that's what I've been working on. So.
Thanks, Meg.
Thank you.
Any questions, any concerns? The program is going strong. It's still under control. And there is a lot of areas that we are looking and exploring. And Meg has agreed that the platform should continue with the Ed Committee and the input from the Ed Committee to her is be very helpful. So I want to thank those people on the committee that's been working that agenda. Anything more?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
As far as my report this evening, the next item on the agenda, the only thing I really have is to remind you that the Vermont School Board Association annual meeting is October 20th and 21st, and anyone here on the board is eligible to attend that. It is an overnight at the Lake Maury Inn in Fairleigh, I think it is, Vermont. There is an early registration fee that saves us a $25 discount if you register by October 10th to attend. The information can be found at the Vermont School Board Association website at www.vermontvsba.org. So please, I encourage anyone who'd be interested in attend that, do so.
That's the contact, to go ahead and log on ourselves and do it, or?
You can do that. You can go ahead and log on yourselves and register yourselves.
What about the two, I'm trying to decide whether last year, whether I went for SVSU or Mount Anthony.
I'll go for that.
To see some, this time, I'm trying to see who I need to go under
No,
this
definitely
time.
go for that.
Yeah. Let them pick up the
Here we go, it's gonna split the bill here, buddy.
50-50.
If you register, they will bill the organization that you register under.
Okay.
Also, the VSBA regional meeting is October 10th, right in this room,
That's
5
right.
o'clock.
That's right, 5 o'clock, and they do want a RSVP on that.
Heads up, because they give you a meal, yes.
Yes, yeah. And those are always good. There's people that come in from all over the region, and they talk about issues that
Manchester.
are going on throughout the entire area. So those are good meetings. thank you for bringing that up too, Ken. And that's at, what time did you say, 5 o'clock?
5, yep.
Yeah. And there is a small dinner.
Yeah, we need to register for that one too, right?
Yeah, they do want you to let them know that you're coming for that. Yeah.
Buy a meal.
I don't have any other business. Is there any other business before the board this evening that anyone else has? Ricky?
Yes, I got an email, I'm sure other people have too, having to do with the Teachers Negotiating Committee. That is going to begin in earnest Wednesday at 4 o'clock. I was told about this a couple months ago at one of our meetings and asked if I wanted to continue as a representative from the Career Development Center. And by all means, I have no problem with it. It is time consuming, it is time demanding, but I did ask if anybody else had an interest, and John said that he was interested. I'm more than happy to relinquish that career of mine to this gentleman. I understand he says he has some issues up until the end of October with scheduling, so I certainly could fill in that time frame if nobody objects, or anybody else is interested and would rather go forward. I'm more than happy to.
No, we appreciate, John, you stepping forward to help us out here with this, so.
I find it's interesting, but it is time consuming.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is not the group meeting, this is just the board members' meetings that are
Right.
taking place right now.
Right.
That's what I wanted to make sure you understood when you fill in for that, to know that you're preparing information and talking and getting together.
Right.
So that's the first meeting's on the 21st with, is that the September 21st?
That's this Wednesday at 4 o'clock.
Wednesday,
Is that CDC or central office?
central office.
Oh, no,
Central office
Yeah,
conference
Yeah,
room.
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
So you will cover this one,
I
you
will.
said, and then John will pick up from there.
At the end of October.
The end of October. Okay, very good.
I don't know if their meetings are gonna be weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly at this point, what it is, but we'll get it straightened out.
Okay.
Report back to you next month.
Good. And then, John, you'll give us reports on a monthly basis as to what is going on. Okay, and those usually take place in executive session, by the way, so we don't break any protocol there. Contracts are allowed to, for executive session. Any other business? Seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Francis and seconded by Ricky. All in favor? Aye. Signify by raising your hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you for coming out this evening.